So I grew up in a little town in Randall, Washington, with my mom and my stepfather. My dream was to be a barrel racer. I had an older brother that was an addict, and my parents, I seen what it did to him, and my parents just never thought that I would use. We were very close. I started drinking at a very young age, though. I was 12. I remember I had my first blackout on whiskey, point of throwing up and couldn't find the toilet. I remember I was sick for a couple of days, continued to drink all through high school. I moved to Portland with my brother in 2000, 4th of July of 2000, and got together with my brother's best friend. I started using meth in 2000 as well when I came to Portland with my brother. I do want to back up a little bit and say that me and my mom were inseparable, had always been. She never lied to me, wanted to see me hurt. We were very, very close, and I feel like she did the best that she could always to protect me. When I moved to Portland and I started using meth, I hid my addiction very well. I was still going back and forth from Portland to Randall to see her, or she would come to Portland on the weekends to see me. And when I first started, I started meth, started snorting it and then smoking it, and it didn't take me long before I was addicted to the needle. Still had hid it from my family very well. I remember I would go to my mom's house and I would hide the needles in the top of her light in the bathroom, and she was cleaning it one day and they all came down on top of her and she was devastated. She would come to Portland and I would leave and be gone for multiple days, leaving my son with her. My mom had a bad heart when I was growing up. She was always in and out of the hospital. Never a drug addict. She was an alcoholic. When my son was born, she had stopped drinking and started again after she found out that I was using meth. And one night I dropped my son off and I brought an 8-ball of methamphetamines and I gave it to this kid, and I left on a Friday night and was supposed to be back to pick up my son Sunday morning or Monday. And I remember I got home, and Saturday morning I got a call that my mom had smoked some meth with my friend, and she had said she wanted to know what took her daughter, what I thought was so important that I would give up my entire life for this drug. So she smoked it with him, and she laid down with my little boy, and she just never woke up again. It blew up her heart. And when I lost her, I ended up in prison a couple of weeks after that for the first time. My life was definitely on a downward spiral. I got out and I stayed clean for a little bit, about 3 years, and I had my daughter in 2007. And I wasn't doing recovery, I wasn't doing any meetings. I started drinking a little bit here and there, and before I knew it, I was hooked back on meth. My father kept my son. I lost him in 2002 when I went to prison the first time. And by 2009, I was on March 26th. I remember my daughter was at a babysitter's, and I was at the bar, and I had gotten a text message from one of my friends asking me what I was doing, and I looked up and I was on the news for armed robbery. I remember the home that I was living at the time, I had a eviction or a yellow tape around the outside of it. I wasn't supposed to be in it. There was no running water, there was no electricity. I remember walking out of that bar and my head just spinning, and I started to vomit, and I didn't know where I was going to go. I remember going and picking up my daughter and driving around with her for multiple hours, not knowing where to go. I was on the news, and so I took her back to my home that we weren't supposed to be at, and I pushed her up through the window. I remember taking her in the bedroom and laying her down and watching her go to sleep, and I remember thinking, what am I gonna, my phone was dead, I didn't have any food for her, I didn't have anything to drink. I had a pocket full of drugs. And I remember I just watched her sleep, and I didn't know what I was going to do the next morning when I woke up. I was on 148th and Division, and I knew I couldn't walk down the street because I was wanted for armed robbery on the news. I remember watching her sleep. I sometimes fell asleep in the middle of the night, and I remember I woke up, and she woke up, and she looked at me with like big blue eyes, and she said, "Mommy, I'm hungry." And so I scooped her up in my arms, and we went in the kitchen. And when I got in there, all of the cereal and laundry soap, the refrigerator was open, and there was probably 30 to 40 mice. And I remember dropping to my knees. And I think that was the first time a little girl probably ever seen me completely and totally fall apart. And she said, "Don't worry, Mommy, I'll take care of you." Anyways, I remember calling a friend, telling them that I needed them to come and get me. And they backed up to the back side of our house. They backed in, and me and my daughter got in the trunk of the car. I didn't have any clothes for her. She had this long curly hair and big blue eyes, and she had a long t-shirt on. I didn't grab any clothes, and we both got in the trunk of the car, and we went to Vancouver, Washington. In the midst of seeing myself on the news so many times, I remember calling the detectives, and they told me, like, if you don't turn yourself in, Reina, we can't guarantee you're not going to be shot. And if you have Allison with you, we can't guarantee you her safety either. So I remember I put Allison someplace safe, and I went down south. And once I got down there, I was on the TVs down there too. I ended up coming back to Portland, and I turned myself in at the Gresham Police Department, and I thought it was going to be a book and release for some reason. But when I got in there, they had indicted me on 2 Measure 11s, and I was looking at 180 months. And I remember doing 23 hours lockdown for about 7 months in the Multnomah County Jail. And I remember getting on my knees and praying to a God I didn't believe in, and I said, "If you get me out of this, I'll give you my life." At that point, I had detectives and my attorneys, and I ended up getting 18 months on a hindering robbery. At this point, my daughter, they were going to terminate my rights to both of my children. My son had still been gone. He'd been gone for about 10 years to my father. And they tried to terminate my rights when I was at Coffee Creek. I advocated for myself, and I knew I wanted a different life. I started learning more about my higher power and God's plan for me. And when I got out, I don't know, per se, I guess I hit the ground running. I had my children back with me 7 months after I was out. And I worked at a coffee shop, and I got my license, and my life just progressively got better. Today I have both of my children home. I have my own place. I have 3 years of recovery. I lost my father in December 23rd of 2012, and I was able to walk through that clean and sober. I have people in my life today that care about me. I have an amazing job with Iron Tribe. They gave me a chance. They completely and totally surrounded me and my children. Today life is good. My name is Reina Garrison. I've been clean 3 years.